I have always been a good person. Always kept my nose clean and made good, sensible decisions. People always said I was nice, but maybe a little quiet. I grew up with my nose in a book, and it was no surprise to anyone when I was accepted into one of our nation's top universities. For the first year, college was more of the same. I joined the programming club, made a few friends like me. Good people, maybe boring. Then I met Jacob. You know the story. Good girl meets bad boy, it all goes to shit. He introduced me to his world. Sex, drinking, and parties. 5 months later, he beat the shit out of me for being too boring. I apologized. A month after that, he found someone else. He left me with a bill for our brand new lease. And what I later discovered was a nasty case of crabs. So it goes. Well, obviously I was devastated. My heart and my nose were broken, and my good girl image was shattered as soon as I stepped foot in the STD clinic. In my time with Jacob, my grades had slipped, so I gave up on being a good girl and started hitting the bottle pretty hard. I started doing better in school, actually, once I had figured out how to numb the pain. I graduated. Not top of the class like I expected, but not in the bottom like I could have been. I got a job offer at a decent firm across the country. I could start over and maybe go back to being the good girl I wanted to be. I was proud of myself. I didn't let Jacob win. I put together a life for myself, and all I needed to do was take it. I had some time before work, so I spent it living with my parents. It saved me on rent, and they were ecstatic to have me back, so it was a win-win. It was a little boring, but after the past couple of years, I relished it. I'd like to preface this by saying I never text and drive. Never. I'm a good person. I follow the rules of the road. I've never even gotten a speeding ticket. I was driving home from visiting an old friend. It was late and there were no other cars on the road. My phone was sitting in the passenger seat and it buzzed, lighting up the whole car. Out of instinct, I looked at it. It was from Jacob. "Hey, have you been? I've missed you." Time froze. Or if it didn't, I certainly did. I should have looked away. I know I definitely shouldn't have picked the phone up. But I did. I never text and drive, I swear. But I do have an excuse. I was just a little bit drunk. I'd just like to say I never drink and drive, I promise. I was just out with a friend. Ever since Jacob, I've had trouble socializing without a bit of liquid courage. After all, I was traveling a road I'd taken countless times before. I'm a good person, I'm not a drunk driver. Finally, I had a short burst of sanity and wrenched my gaze away from the phone. To my horror, I saw that I had crossed into the other lane. I saw a woman's face illuminated in my headlights. She was terrified. Her eyes opened wider than I had ever thought possible as she gripped the wheel of her SUV. I felt my stomach turn when I saw 3 children asleep in the back seat. To my surprise, neither car moved. I was thrilled. I must have hit the brakes in time. 1 point for drunken reflexes. It wasn't until after I waved apologetically at the woman, who was still frozen in shock, and turned around so that I could back up that I saw the man in my passenger seat. He hadn't been there before. Was I really drunk enough to hallucinate? I've always felt that meeting supernatural entities should have a bit of pomp and circumstance. I want my demons to have a bit of pizzazz, god damn it. A little puff of smoke here and there. That's my opinion, at least. The man sitting next to me seemed to disagree. He was dressed in an ill-fitting beige suit that must have come from a clearance rack in the back of a Macy's, if that. He had a mustard stain on his rumpled white shirt, his tie was loose, and his mismatched socks were painfully obvious below the cuffs of his too short pants. His dark hair stood up at all angles, and his goatee looked like it was shaved by a toddler. It was patchy and sat just left of center. The man cleared his throat. "You are Miss Sarah Faye Carpenter, correct? Born on the 15th of May, 1989? "Yes," I replied. "How did you get in my car?" I was oddly calm. Perhaps it was the booze. I noticed another mustard stain on his overlong sleeve. The man cleared his throat again. "I'm happy to tell you if you're done examining my attire." Shit, he noticed. I swallowed hard and nodded. The man sniffed wetly and glared at me. "Miss Carpenter, your blood alcohol content is currently 0.095. This is higher than the legal limit." He stopped to scratch his head, and I watched in horror as dandruff floated down. "Put simply, you're driving drunk." "Oh, okay." I couldn't think of anything to say. "Are you a lawyer or something?" The man rolled his eyes. "Let's go with that. I make contracts. I have many names, but you may as well call me the Devil." "Huh," I said. "That's..." I trailed off into silence. "Am I dead or just really drunk?" "Right now, neither." He gestured to the outside world. Everything beyond my windshield remained frozen. "That's what I'm here to determine. I've given us a few minutes to chat." He paused and shifted in the seat, eventually putting his feet on the dash. "You see that woman in front of you? Her name is Maria Flynn. She's driving her 3 children home from the airport. In a minute, your car is going to smash into hers. Maria and her sons will die. Her daughter will live but be paralyzed for life. You will emerge without a scratch until you are arrested. You will be convicted of vehicular manslaughter, and you will remain in prison until you die." "What?" I asked, shaken. "I can't go to prison. I have my whole life ahead of me." "That's what I thought," said the Devil. He leaned forward and put his hand over mine. Perhaps it was meant to be comforting, but his hand was moist and cold. I slid my hand away, and he placed his hand on my shoulder. His hand was heavy, and his clammy fingertips brushed the bare skin at the nape of my neck. "We can discuss your other options." "My other options?" I repeated. "Of course," said the Devil. He slapped his free hand on the dashboard, and like that, the scene changed. In front of me, still frozen, was a young boy on a bike. He was illuminated in the headlights of a small blue sedan. The driver leaned forward, and I could see the panic on his face. One hand gripped the wheel while the other slammed the horn. "What is this?" I asked. "This is Martin Everest, age 53. "Is he drunk too?" I asked. "No, he's completely sober. The child rushed out into the street. His death will be a tragic accident. But even the cruelest of juries won't be able to say it was Mr. Everett's fault." "Okay," I said. "So why are we looking at him?" The Devil took his feet off the dash and leaned forward. He rubbed his hands together in what seemed like glee. "If Martin hits the child, he will stop and call the police. While the accident was not his fault, his car will still be searched. In the trunk, the police will find some, well, racy images of very underage girls, and eventually a hard drive with almost a terabyte of child pornography. Truly sickening. The devil did not look sickened by this revelation, but I didn't feel comfortable pointing that out. I shook my head and rubbed my eyes until I saw stars, silently praying that I would wake up at home or passed out on my friend's couch. However, when I opened my eyes again, the devil was still leaned forward, staring at the car with excitement. I cleared my throat and he slowly turned towards me. "What does this have to do with me?" "You have a choice," said the devil. He put his arm back on my shoulder and I did my best to not shudder. "Do you think you're a good person?" "Well, I always follow the rules and I tried my best and—" I shut up when the devil held up a finger. "Better than him?" he asked. He pointed at the man frozen in the blue car. "Better than Martin Everest?" "Of course!" I burst out. "This car accident is my worst mistake. This is the only time I've ever driven drunk. I've never done anything remotely as despicable as that child molester." The devil smiled. "Then your choice is simple. Only one of these car crashes has to happen tonight. You choose which one." "Well," I said, shrugging, "if I hit that car, 3 people die and a little girl is paralyzed. Also, I would go to jail forever for a simple accident." I turned to the devil to see he was nodding along with me. "If he hits that boy, the boy will die, which is truly tragic. But it will lead to the arrest of that monster. That means he will never hurt anyone again." "So is this your decision? You want Martin Everest to hit the boy?" "Well, it's the right decision. Like, objectively the right decision," I said. Even the devil must know that one death and the arrest of a sickening predator was better than the deaths of 3 people. Maybe he was trying to trick me into choosing my accident. I wondered if he thought I would try to be a hero or something and choose to go to jail myself. That would be stupid. "This is the right decision." I nodded. "It's the right decision." The devil gave a laugh. "So be it," he said. He slapped the dashboard again. All of a sudden, the car was spinning, the headlights making the trees dance. I slowly came to a stop and I realized that I was in my own car, and the devil was nowhere to be seen. "You fucking psycho! You almost killed us!" The mom of 3 leaned out her window and gave me the finger. "You fucking psycho!" She screamed again as she drove off into the night. Jesus, what a bitch. I might have saved her life after all. I never realized she was going to be such a bitch about it. I drove home. I made sure to drive slowly and carefully with my phone tucked out of sight in my purse. When I got home, I deleted the text from Jason, got into bed, and tried to forget the whole thing. By morning, I had managed to convince myself that it was all a dream. That near miss scared me, though. I thought I was careful to begin with, but I strove to never make a mistake like that again. I kept good on that promise. I never had another drink after that. I never looked at my phone when I was driving, except the map or to sometimes change the song. This had worked out well for me. It's been a few years. I have a great job. I just bought a house with my wonderful boyfriend, and a life I can truly be proud of. Whether it was the devil, a guardian angel, or just luck, I am so thankful that my first mistake didn't become my last. I built the life that I always wanted. Being a good person had gotten me what I deserved. At least that's what I believed until yesterday. I was making salad for my housewarming party when the TV caught my eye. Martin Everest released from prison after appeal. My blood ran cold. It was true? And how had society let a monster like that back out on the streets? For the first time, I decided to Google Martin Everest, and the results disturbed me. After Martin Everest was convicted, a group called the Innocence Project took on his case. Apparently, there had been a few errors in the case, but as often happens with child predators, everyone just wanted a quick conviction. For example, he was driving a rental car he had picked up that morning. After some digging, his new lawyers had proven that the car agency had lied about cleaning and inspecting his car because they were behind schedule. Digital forensics later confirmed that the hard drive had previously held documents belonging to a man who had rented the car before Mr. Everest. Martin Everest was released, and it is expected that all charges will be dropped. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I ran to the bathroom and found the half-empty bottle of scotch I had hidden with the paper towels. I keep it there in case of emergencies. It doesn't mean I'm not sober. I feel like I have to talk to Mr. Everest. I feel like I have to ask him if something weird happened that night, if he experienced anything strange that he might have forgotten or dismissed as a half-dream. I am terrified of what he'll tell me, because I think I know what it would be. I think he'll tell me that a gross man in a beige suit offered him two choices. One, a drunk driver who would always be a danger to society would get in an accident and finally be taken off the streets. The other, a man on his drive home experiencing a tragedy. Maybe Mr. Everest decided that one death was better than three, like I did. Or maybe he felt like he needed to own up to his own mistake, that he couldn't condemn another person. I don't think I'll ever know. I'm going to finish the scotch, clear my browsing history, and try to pretend that this never happened. It's all I can do after all. There's nothing I can do to make it right. However, now I am haunted by what might wait for me in the end. I made one mistake, one bad choice, but something tells me it has damned me to a fate worse than life in prison. It's sort of unfair, actually. It was a bad choice, sure, but it was made with gross misinformation. I feel like that means it wasn't totally my fault. Does one bad choice make me a bad person? Hey guys, Ali here. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching my video. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications if you want more videos just like this one. And if you are so inclined, follow me on social media and support me on Ko-fi. All links are listed in the description box below. Thanks, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye!